Hello and welcome to Resident Advisors Exchange. My name is Martha. I'm so happy to be speaking to Bambounou today. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, and you?
I'm good, thank you. So I think the last time I spoke to you was at Digital in Amsterdam, and you were
Yes.
cycling around the streets of Amsterdam. It feels like a lot has changed since then. So how are you and how have you been spending this past few years?
It was such a long time ago, I don't even remember it. Yeah, the past few years been quite hectic, actually. A lot of stuff happened, everything changed pretty much. So when the first pandemic started, like we moved to the south of France for a little bit,
Oh,
and
nice.
then we decided. I mean, we knew it wasn't gonna be working for. I knew I wasn't gonna be working for a long time, so we just cut everything. We just cut all expenses. So I had to give back my studio. I have to give back my flat, like everything who was like where I was just like spending money or too much money. I would just like cut everything. So I don't have a studio right now, and I still don't. So I have to work at home.
And how have you found adjusting to working at home?
Well, it's actually quite interesting because before I had like because the studio is quite a luxury actually. You know, you have like a whole room and you can go and work. You know, so
Yeah.
it's pretty much amazing for a creative point of view. But I had to adapt myself, as in I had to. I didn't have the luxury to go to a studio and be like, oh, I'm gonna plug this machine, then I'm going to do this, then going to try that. Now I have a little bit of time, and when I decide to do something, I have to do it. You know, there's like no options. So it's some kind of forced creativity, which is good actually. I can enjoy it, and that's the new stuff. I don't have an office or anything like that. So sometimes I work from home. Sometimes I go to a friend. Sometimes I go to my girlfriend's office where I can just like find a little bit of place for me. And yeah, I just get things done. That's my new motto.
That's a good motto. So on
Yeah.
this podcast, I kind of often will do a deep dive into an artist's career and life so far, but you did make an origins film with RA a few
Yes.
years ago that kind of
Yeah.
described your start in music and it was exploring identity and your heritage a little bit. It's such a beautiful film, by the way. Everyone should
Thank you.
make sure that they've seen that after they've listened to our chat, of course. Um, but today I was thinking as we speak, we could kind of build from there and focus on like what's been happening for you since 2015, I think that one was. Um,
Mhm.
so where we
Yes.
left you at the end of that film, you were touring globally, and because everyone's
Yeah.
missing shows right now, maybe we could talk a bit about some of the kind of really significant shows that you've played over the past few years.
Hmm.
If there's any that you can think of that have like really stayed with you or changed you or shaped your approach to DJing?
Hmm. So from 2015, I was still yeah, just before the pandemic, I was just still touring a lot. I was going to Asia once or twice a year, the US as well, and pretty much everywhere in Europe. I was booked, fully booked all the time, always. The documentary really helped definitely my career, you know, getting me into another, and it's on whole other level. But I have to admit, I didn't watch it again. I watched it like at the premiere, and I didn't watch it again because it makes me incredibly how do you say? Um,
Cringe, maybe?
yes, that's the feeling. It's a good cringe, but it's a little bit too cringe. You know, like just watching myself, like
Mm.
getting opening myself so much.
Mm.
I know it's there. I know it's something good, but I prefer just to lay it where it is. Um, but since then, yeah, I had like loads of amazing experiences. Um, the one DJ set I can really think of right now that really stayed with me was when I played for Terraforma, sorry,
Mhm.
which is a festival in Italy, in Milan. It was a really good set because the audience was very receptive, and you could go and play pretty much what you wanted to play. So if there's a recording of the sets on SoundCloud, but I like that they cut the last part. Like there was like half an hour when I played only dancehall, and I usually don't do that, and especially not in the techno festival. But yeah, people were really enjoying it, and I remember it as being one of the best moments I had.
Amazing.
Before the whole crisis.
Yeah. I know it's kind of weird to like think back and remember like what you were kind of trying to communicate in DJ sets when we could DJ. But do you have an idea of what you kind of aim to like give or show people during a DJ set?
You mean right now or before? Because
has it changed?
Yes, you know what? Yes, it really changed because I'm not touring anymore. So I have all of my weekends. I sleep quite good when I can sleep. I have 2 kids now. The youngest one is 6 months old. So I have time to spend, like I just spend the whole weekends with my family, and I love it. And it made me realize that maybe I was traveling too much, maybe I was maybe playing too much, or maybe not enough. I don't know. So it really did. I think it really did change my approach to music and to DJing in general. It's on a very selfish point of view. It was good for me because I could just stay home with my family. So that's something that would never been could have never happened. Sorry. Yeah. So I really don't know where my DJ sets are gonna go from now. Like really, I don't know.
Did you used to sort of feed off the energy of playing shows and like watching DJs, and did you used to sort of translate that into your music?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's such a thriving scene. There's like so many acts, so many stuff going on, so many interesting music, interesting people, interesting energies, and I would like definitely absorb everything, you know, and even from the crowd, from other DJs. So that's what's actually makes you stay up all night, you know, just go there, play some music you really like to other people so they can dance to it and you can all communicate and it's all great, you know. So it's an amazing idea. It's just great, you know. So at first I missed it a lot, you know, like I was feeling like something was missing, you know. But right now I'm like, hey, you know, life is good anyway. So I don't know, I really don't know. I'm a little bit lost all of it, actually. I don't know what's going to happen when gigs are going to come back to normal, if they do.
Yeah, we'll see. Have you been able to find other ways within music to like nurture that need for sort of communicating with a crowd and a community?
Not really, not at all, actually. That's one of the bad side, is that I cut a lot of my social interaction with people. It's really strange, you know, because yeah, you just can't really get out. You just can't really meet with other people. So I have to be honest, and I only use like 400 words of vocabulary because I've been talking to toddlers. So, but yeah, it's I kind of miss being around a lot of people and everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of production and creating music, how would you describe your main focuses over this past year? And have you had to make sort of innovations and updates to the way that you make music in your different surroundings?
Mm-hmm. So as I told you, I had to um, leave my studio. Then I had to adapt myself, and whenever I had a couple of hours to work, I would just like turn on Logic and just try all of the ideas I had, and I had to get a result. So I had to maintain some kind of stability into my workflow and into my production. That would be the only stuff that would still be left for me, you know. So in regards to creativity and everything, it was a really good year. And the interesting stuff is that I think, just like many other techno producers, I try to expand everything that I was doing. So I wouldn't do only club music.
Mm-hmm.
I've always tried to not do only club music because I think it's I don't want to like close myself too much to only one genre. But eventually I started like doing pop music and doing loads of stuff with the actual chords and everything, or trap or classical music and everything like that. So it definitely made me expand my horizons on productions. And it really came from an envy. It wasn't coming from a frustration of like not having time or being too tired or whatever. It just came from a positive place. So I'm quite happy about that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Have you shared anything from these sort of other genres that you've been dabbling
Not
in?
really. Not yet. Not yet. I've played it to a couple of friends, and they all really like it. Eventually, I think when like most techno producers, where when they saw that they weren't going to be able to tour, and I think all of them, and included, started thinking, oh, we're going to produce pop so we can
Okay.
get streams and stuff like that, So eventually I try to get it. Like eventually I would like to like produce some pop artist or whatever, or I just don't like the idea of closing myself because I'm doing a genre that is supposed to be underground or independent, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you have a bit more of an interest in like behind the scenes, being the producer in a sense of working like with a vocalist more. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, yes, yeah. Mm. I just don't like the idea of closing myself because of music.
Mm, mm. Um, I don't know if this is a thing, but I rewatched the Origins film because I knew I was going to speak to you today, um, and
Mhm.
I liked the way that you were kind of using research as a starting point for music and for that EP that you're working on at the time. And you
Mhm.
were in that film, you were researching into your family heritage and Mali and when you come from and everything, and learning about the local music and sort of drawing parallels with the techno scene that you'd already immersed yourself in. Are you
Mhm.
still working around those connections and using research as a tool when you make music?
Yeah, I like to see myself as a scientist. I I just get some information and I merely touch them and reproduce them into music, with frequencies and everything. Obviously, I like to romanticize it and feel like that, but actually, I'm just sitting on my laptop trying out lots of stuff. But I'm still doing lots of research on everything. I just like the idea of being very curious, and I like the idea of knowing that you can learn every day. So I think it's really important for all of us to just try and absorb as many information as you can. Some important, some are not, but that's what makes, and how to translate them. That's my medium. I know how to do music because I started when I was very young. I
Mm-hmm.
don't really know how to do anything else, so that's pretty much the only way for me to filter everything that's going on.
Mm. And are there anything that you've been sort of looking into and learning about that has been inspiring your recent music?
Yeah, wait. Coding, for example.
Oh,
I
okay.
just I just yeah. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff when you think it's like quite complicated, and then you get into like, oh, it's actually learning another language.
Mm,
You have to practice. It's a little bit annoying at first. You're going to do mistakes, but eventually you can get your way around.
mm.
Yeah, and reading a
S-
lot,
Yeah,
more or less.
okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, speaking of trying new things, you have a brand new record label, which I want to hear all about it.
Yes.
So, why did you want to start a label? What are the intentions of the label?
Okay. Um, I think I wanted to start label because I came to a point in my career when I was old enough to know what I want and what I like. Not necessarily in terms of music, but more in terms of how things sound. Just like percussions, kicks, and stuff like that. I've I've made my taste over the year because of traveling, because of listening to a lot of music. And I wanted to channel all of this into one way of um, of just giving it away to people, which was the label. Um, and obviously, when you're a techno producer, I guess you have to have a label. Like everyone has one, so why not me? But I guess before, um, I couldn't do it because I lacked the confidence, because I think I was just traveling too much. I was tired all the time. I didn't have much space in my mind for such such an adventure, And so the label is called Bambe. We've got an amazing team. I'm working with several people who are really, really lovely, and I didn't know they were going to invest themselves this much into the label. The main idea, I think it's probably a little bit cliche. The main idea is to put out good music and to have an interesting platforms for a multidisciplinary art space. But really, I'm really looking forward to do loads of different kind of stuff, not only music. I just see it as a platform, of expression in general.
So let's talk about the first release. You have opened up the label with a EP from you.
Yes.
How would you like your listener to take in or digest this record? Was there like a setting that you had in mind when you were creating it?
I think it's an interesting question to ask me how I would like the listener to be listening to it. It's you know what? For example, that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to think about when I'm going to produce music, because that's the whole paradox of it. You don't really think of who is going to listen and how are they going to listen and everything, but you need them for the music to exist. So I'd say take some headphones, lie down, turn the light on because you don't want to be in the dark. Close your eyes so you can still see some colors, and listen to all of it.
Okay, that's everyone's
It's
mission.
that's this. Yes.
Why do they not want to be in the dark?
I don't know. Why do you want to be in the dark? You know what? Let's say let's turn all the lights on, and eventually, when we can all go back to clubs, we turn the light off.
Okay, yeah. So what did you use to make these tracks on this EP?
What I usually use all the time is the DSI Tempests, which is six voice synthesizer and sequencer by Dave Smith and Roger Lane. It's my go-to machine. I really love it because it's so limited and in some kind of way infinite. So I just use it all the time. And a DP4, which is a multi-effect, which has like, I don't know, reverb, phaser, delay, compressor. And it sounds a little bit metallic. So I really like this kind of sound design when it's a little bit, FM-ish percussions with a very, very cold reverb, very, very short. So that's the kind of sounds I'm really looking forward for, these days.
And what would you say is the thing that like unites these tracks into an EP? Like, is there a thread that draws them together for this particular project?
It, um, I think they definitely all have this same kind of mood. First of all, I think I use the same reverb in all of them. So in a technical point of view, it's it's the same preset pretty much. But then I think I don't know what to reply. I feel like they're all fitting together and they all sound good all together. But why? I don't know. It's a little bit too mystical for me.
What is your process of like selection or elimination for making, like picking out your EP tracks? Like, how do you know which ones are going to make the final cut?
So I think like from the beginning, when you start working on a track, and for example, if you're working on version 200, that this EP is not this track is not going to be on the EP because you've put already too much effort and energy in it.
Okay.
At this as well, just not erase the project, but just like leave it somewhere and wait 3 years and then just discover it back and be like, oh wow, this has so many good ideas I'm going to using for something else. That's the stuff, I usually work like that. I have some ideas, I have some projects. Sometimes I just leave them for like, 2, 3, 4 years. Then I eventually come back to it, and I'm just picking up some ideas and putting them back into what I'm working on right now. I see it as a whole, and I'm not only focusing myself on doing one EP or one album or one. I just see the whole project. I know that 5 years from now I would be able to use some of the stuff I've done before, so it can complete what I've been doing, if this makes sense. It's some kind of like tenet loop wormhole kind of music stuff. I like to think about that anyway when I do something. Obviously there's like lots of technical not issues, but technical hints you can do, like use the same reverb, use the same kind of compression, etc., use the same elements and stuff to have an EP who would be coherent. But yeah.
Mm. And in terms of like expanding the label and growing a kind of family around it who are kind of all on the same page sonically, what are you looking for in artists who you are going to bring into the family?
So I'm already on the signing parts of like artists and finding artists and everything. Obviously they need to be good persons. I think it's really important for us, since we have a platform, all of us in music. I mean, since we have a platform where we can represent what we would ideally like the society to be. So I'm looking to do a label that would have how to say that, and I forgot the name in English. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired. Label égalitaire, which means
Fair?
fair. Yeah, fair. Yeah, a fair label. I want to have a label for everyone. That's the stuff, I want everyone to be able to speak out what they want and to express themselves how they want. That's really what I'm aiming for, with any kind of medium necessarily. We can think of everything. That's the cool stuff. That's the stuff I realized not so long ago, that you can. It's a little bit, sorry, like I was gonna say American-ish, like, oh, if you think enough, if you dream enough, you can make everything come true or whatever. But I don't know. I'm this kind of mood. Maybe I'm a little bit of a lunatic these days, and I think you can do anything you want. But I like the idea of doing anything you want. And I'm sorry I didn't reply to your question.
No, I think that does give me an idea of who you're going to be bringing into the family for the new label. But can we talk about the first artists that are coming up after your EP?
Yes, obviously. So the second EP is going to be Bruce and me. Bruce is an amazing artist from England. He's currently based in Bristol, and we did a collaboration on an EP, which is going to be released quite soon. Actually, it's going to be it's really, really good. It's one of my favorite pieces of music we did, because he is extremely talented and incredibly meticulous on everything. So it all sounds really good. You have to listen to all the details. And then the third release is going to be GGFM. She's an artist from France, actually from Paris, I believe. She moved to the US to do dancing. Then she moved to London, and now she lives in Berlin. And she is as well incredibly talented and doing really, really good mermaid astrological like techno music, which is very, very interesting. I think she's going to be one of the big artists of the new era, the new club era.
How exciting. And how involved are you?
Yes.
Because obviously you collaborated with Bruce on the next release, but in terms of with GGFM's record, are you sort of A&Ring it? Are you having a say?
That's the stuff. I'm still trying to draw the line where I can interact with artists in regards to what they're doing, you know. So for example, I'm going to send them some music I like. I'm going to send them what we did on Bambe, like my EP, the EP with Bruce, the EP with Gigi. Like we like this, but if you like to offer something else, you're more than welcome, you know. There's no limit to what you can send to me. But obviously that's the complicated part. I have to like it, you know, and I don't really like a lot of music these days. I like listening to music, but it's completely different to liking music, you know, like saving it, buying vinyl and everything like that. So but I just, like I told you, I still need to draw the line, like where do I have to say like, oh, I don't really like this element, or I think you should change your synth, or whatever. I like to give advices and everything like that, and make sure people manage to get what they want.
That sounds very fair.
Yeah, thank you.
So with your collaborative record with Bruce, is this something that you guys have been working on remotely?
Well, he went to Paris when I had my studio. We worked a little bit at the studio together, which was really, really good and really interesting. We get on very well with Larry. So he stayed at my place for 2 days. We went to the studio. Then he was supposed to come back to Paris, but it didn't happen. Or wait, he came, but I couldn't go to the studio anyway. And then it was just remotely, like back and forth, sending by emails. But it was really interesting because we, you know, sometimes it's a little bit complicated to work like that with people, because you don't really get the feeling and you don't really get the energy and the intentions of what you want to transcribe to put in your music. But with Larry, it was very, very easy. When he would send me a version, I would just like listen to it, understand all of the ideas, put more ideas, setting back, etc. So it was very, very easy and very nice to be working like that.
And he is, of course, based in Bristol, like you said. I feel like Bristol is such a perfect fit for your sound. Like you just slot into the Bristol scene so well. Have you had experiences of playing there and feeling like you fit in?
Yes, actually, I played for Batu's party. Where it was in a former or something like that, like an old in Bristol. I don't remember where. I have a terrible memory about this kind of stuff, and it was actually amazing. Like so many, you know, at first before playing, I was a little bit scared, because not scared, but like maybe yeah, maybe a little bit scared, because you know, I was saying to myself, oh, I'm in Bristol, you know, there's going to be lots of people, like not judging you, but like, you know, like people who get music, like you should definitely do a good set and stuff. So yeah, I had to prepare myself a little bit, but in the end, it was just lovely. It was really, really good. And I've never thought about why actually Bristol is such a good city for probably some sociological reason.
It there's
I need to get into it.
so much talent in Bristol. It's such an important city to well, if you're touring England, then it's such an important stop, I guess. So I
Yes,
wanted to talk a
definitely.
bit about how you kind of see the role of record labels in 2021. What do you reckon a label can offer these days as the sort of economic landscape of music is shifting so much? I feel like labels perhaps mean a different thing these days, and I was just wondering what's your take on that, and what do labels mean to you?
I like the idea of having a general consensus about an image or about a sound, which pretty much is represented by a label.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, if you sign to a label, or if you collaborate with some of artists from a label or whatever, it would just feed on the same image, you know. So in people's minds, in dancers and streamers and everything, you're part of something, you know. That's what I see with a label, and eventually this would create some growth with streaming and everything participates in getting artist paid, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So in this economic landscape, I don't know, it's all very complicated. You really want to listen to club music very, very loud again for another year at home alone? I'm not sure, you know. But
So for
yet we thrive on it, and yet we have to wait for all the clubs to open. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, you were saying?
yeah, it sounds like for you the labels, the important elements of the label are like being kind of on the same page in a visual identity and a sonic identity, but then also just being able to build like a family and a crew of people to like take on this next stage
Mm-hmm.
in the music world with.
I think it's really depending of. I mean, I think it's. I mean, what I feel is like every labels are trying to do this, you know, get surrounded by good people who can just elevate the whole idea of doing music together and eventually get money with it.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on it
Uh,
earlier on, but I want to hear more about your possible ideas about the other, not just music elements that this and of this creativity that the label could encompass. Um, what are you kind of thinking of? Like, what other avenues of creativity could this label potentially explore?
are you trying to get information from me, Marta?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I like your honesty. Now, just imagine that we are when we talk about labels, we think about music, we think about sound, but just like I told you, I like to think that we're not only closed by only what we do. So it's not because it's just called a label. I'm going to release only music. It can be really anything, any means of art, you know, any means of creativity. So I can't really tell you. I just just all right. So imagine this music and like there's anything else, just something in this anything else.
Okay, that's very broad, but I will accept it as an answer.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I like to talk about projects when they're done and they're about to be released and everything, because otherwise because sorry, because otherwise it's just talking and then you don't release it and stuff. So
I hear it. It's also nice for our listeners to be able to go and enjoy the project straight away rather than have to wait until it comes out.
see,
Okay, you've convinced me. I will stop prying now.
okay.
But before I let you go today, I was just wondering, and I know that this will probably change as things develop, but for you right now in this moment, what would success look like for this label?
I mean, it would look like something like being able to release the most important and interesting artists and being able to make new discoveries, new arts, and being able to install um, a very strong sonic landscape, visual landscape, and inspirational landscape. Why not? Because we're talking about success, onto the music scene that we're acting in.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Is that too much?
No,
Pretty much.
it's not too much. This is your aim of success, so obviously it's going to be big, and I am looking forward to following the label's journey and seeing how things unfold for sure. All right, well, Bambounou, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a pleasure to speak with you, and thanks very much.